The 22-year contamination, how Boeing and the American National Credit Board infected global quality from the inside out. I am Daryl Guberman, quality expert, truth-sayer, and Boeing shareholder. And what I'm about to tell you exposes how one company's deception, combined with an accreditation body's negligence, corrupted the global system of trust that every manufacturer depends upon. This isn't theory, it's fact, supported by decades of evidence, documentation, and systematic rot that began when Boeing and ANAB, the American National Credit Board, decided that the rules didn't apply to them. The contamination begins in July 2002. In July 2002, just several months after 9/11, Boeing issued a supplier bulletin that forever changed the world of manufacturing. It required every one of its suppliers to become AS9100, accredited by ANAB. That single directive reshaped the entire manufacturing landscape. Thousands of small and mid-sized supplier machine shops, metal processors, and aerospace contractors scrambled to obtain costly AS9100 certification just to keep their contracts. Boeing declared that only certificates accredited by ANAB or an internationally equivalent body would be accepted. And through the mutual recognition arrangements, MRA, and mutual lateral agreements, that meant accreditation bodies in China, Pakistan, Iran, the UK, France, and elsewhere were all treated as equal to ANAB. The contamination began right there. The legal contamination, ANAB as the underwriter. Here's where the legal danger deepened. When an accreditation body like ANAB signs those MRA and MLA agreements, it accepts that all participating bodies are equivalent. The legal equivalence means that ANAB, and by extension ANSI, becomes the underwriter for every system and product failure certified under the global umbrella. In simpler terms, ladies and gentlemen, if a product certified under an ANAB equivalent fails, ANAB shares the legal and moral responsibility. Now add this. ANAB and its parent, ANSI, helped establish the International Accreditation Forum and its twin organization, the International Laboratory Accreditation Cooperation in Australia, and also IAF is in Delaware, both tied to the same network of insiders and both responsible for extending that liability worldwide. That's not independence, that's incestuous governance, and it created a global house of cards. Boeing's seat of power, the Committee of Control. Fast forward to 2014. For at least 10 years, from 2014 to 2024, Boeing sat on ANAB's Management System Accreditation Committee. This was no honorary seat. The committee holds the authority to grant, suspend, and withdraw certifications from registrars and certification bodies. In other words, Boeing, the very company meant to police, was sitting in the referee's chair. This is the ultimate conflict of interest. And during those same years, Boeing itself was not AS9100 certified, not in 2014, 18, or even in 2024. For 22 years, Boeing built a commercial and military aircraft without a single valid AS9100 certificate in the system, while dictating who could issue these certificates to others. This is the definition of systematic fraud, the illusion of certification. While Boeing sat on that committee, the illusion was complete. Every supplier who probably displayed their framed AS9100 certificate thinking it represented legitimacy was unknowingly part of a tainted system. Those certifications appeared valid only because ANAB's authority was backed by Boeing's presence. In reality, the certificates were compromised at their very source. When the referee is corrupt, every game is fixed. Let's take Joe's Machine Shop, the ripple of corruption. This is only a sample. Let me give you a real-world example. Imagine Joe's Machine Shop, a small aerospace supplier, AS9100 certified through an ANAB-accredited registrar. Joe follows every standard, produces perfect parts to Boeing's blueprint, and meets every tolerance. But here's the truth. Because Boeing, the original equipment manufacturer, had no AS9100 certification while sitting on the accreditation committee that governs certification itself, Joe's certificate and every certificate like it became legally meaningless. It didn't matter whether Joe shipped parts to Boeing, Lockheed Martin, Pratt & Whitney, GE Aerospace, or even Airbus. The entire structure was poisoned. Even Airbus, which relied on foreign accreditation bodies considered equivalent to ANAB, was compromised. The MRA, MLA structure made all of them part of the same disease network. So even when Joe's part met blueprint specifications, the systematic corruption behind certification made his work suspect. Now, here's where trust collapses, not from bad manufacturing, but from bad governance, the legal fallout. By allowing Boeing to sit on the Management System Accreditation Committee while remaining uncertified, ANAB and ANSI violated the basic principles of ISO IEC 1711, which demands impartiality. They violated the intent of ISO 9001, which requires proven conformity before recognition. They undermined the FAA, the DoD, and even regulatory body that depends on accredited oversight. This wasn't just unethical, it was unlawful under the very standard they claimed to uphold. The global consequence. Through the MRA and MLA structure, the contamination spread far beyond aerospace. It reached medical device manufacturing, automotive, defense, and energy sectors worldwide. Every certification, ISO 9001, ISO 1345 for medical, AS 9100 for aerospace, and their derivatives became questionable. Billions in contracts, thousands of audits, and decades of industry trust now sit on a foundation of deceit. And because ANAB, through their agreements, acknowledged legal equivalence with its foreign counterparts, it became the underwriter of every failure across the network. That's global liability. That's moral collapse on an industrial scale, the illusion of oversight and the collapse of integrity. For 22 years, Boeing and ANAB created a mirror world, a world where oversight appeared strong, certificates appeared valid, and regulators appeared satisfied. But behind that reflection was nothing but self-interest, bureaucracy, and silence. The contamination cannot be undone. It's too deep. The only way forward is a complete reform of the system, a dismantling of the committees, the collusion, and the complacency that allowed this to happen. Closing the cure before refused. The cure Boeing refused. And I will close with this truth. I, Daryl Guberman, offered Boeing my expertise, not as a critic, but as a reformer. I personally sent Boeing's board of directors a 42-page document with 11 letters of recommendation from professionals, experts, and industrial leaders, outlining a concrete plan to restore Boeing's quality and credibility. They ignored it. They ignored me. They chose to protect the illusion instead of facing the infection. But here's the truth. I am a Boeing shareholder, ladies and gentlemen. I have seen the deception from the inside. And I will tell you this. Boeing will never be number one again until it cleanses itself of the corruption that has crippled its quality and trust. Boeing's illness isn't engineering. It's ethical. It's a disease of integrity. And I am the only one who has the experience, the independence, and the courage to cure it. Because I am not part of the problem. I am the antidote. The truth will set Boeing free, and not until Daryl Guberman is finished with them. Ladies and gentlemen, and to those veterans, happy Veterans Day. My father was a veteran. I want to thank you for listening to this. It is corruption of the worst type. I have exposed a $254 billion, approximately, maybe it's over that, international scam caused by Boeing and the American National Crediting Board. And I am proud of that factor to come out and tell the manufacturers the truth in every industry, whether it's aerospace, medical, automotive, electronics, etc. I have done this for you. I stood up for you, ladies and gentlemen. I was told when I stood up in April 17, 2024, that I was speaking for 4.7 billion people at Sam Salapar's Inquisition. He told the truth. He said the 777 Boeing 787 had design issues, and most recently, Boeing had to put off delivery till 2027 on the 777 aircraft. I wanted to thank everybody. 20 years ago, this face would have been on Time magazine. I'm the guy who exposed Boeing and ANAB, the biggest industrial scam, $254 billion. And you know what's the worst thing? Is that Boeing didn't listen. Boeing will never be able to recapture itself, probably only with government money, government intervention. But if they want to get their quality back, if they want intervention, they need Daryl Guberman. I've said it time and time again. They perpetrated a fraud, ANAB included with Boeing, on all of you, on all of us, the flying public. 12,000 approximately aircraft and commercial and 400 or more military were built in those from 2002 to 24. And Elizabeth Lund, Vice President of Quality for Boeing, admitted to this failure. 203-556-1493. You had a Boeing executive admit to failure. in June 2024. Thank you.